So we are back in the big train system on our way to Versailles. We were able to, we kind of got it closed with the train, but we got on it, so it's saving us a couple minutes, but we are hopefully going to be able to have a nice day at Versailles, no rain, and possibly it's going to be cool for the most of the day, so the sun's going to be out, but it's going to be a nice temperature, so yay to that. And right now our train is taking us a little bit on a scenic tour of the Seine, which is a very different experience. And once we get to Versailles, we are going to kind of explore the route of Marie Antoinette and focus on her and a little bit of the revolution, but we're probably going to be saving that for tomorrow. So, Versailles, hope you're ready for us because here we come. Alright, we just arrived at the station for Versailles, and we are coming up to it. So, let's see one of the most beautiful structures in all of France. This is going to be very, very interesting.
Come on, man. Okay, I was busy worrying about it.
Okay, huge line at Versailles. After all, it's one of the biggest tourist attractions of France and Paris. So, we're like halfway-ish, maybe a little bit under, but still a long way before we get into Versailles, but it's definitely going to be worth it. And I know that we were able to figure out that the Hall of Mirrors is where the Treaty of Versailles was signed, and we're going to be able to see that. Louis XIV's bedroom, and possibly maybe where the treaty for our Revolutionary War was. We'll see. But it is a very long way to get in. So, here we go. Okay, we are finally inside Versailles, and we are just about to enter the main part of the chateau and begin the tour. Really long line, but it's going to be worth it to be able to see all of the beauty and masterpieces that is Versailles. So, it's time to get started with our exploration with Marie Antoinette and, excuse me earlier, but Louis XVI. So, let's the adventure begin. We're here in the Hall of Mirrors. This is where the Treaty of Versailles that marked the end of World War I was signed. And there's a view out to the gardens to the east. And definitely impressive with the whole mirror design. Right now I believe we're heading towards the 14th bedroom, also known as the Sun King's room. Similar along those lines. Very cool. Okay, so that was just the Chambre de Roi, or the King's Chamber, but there was definitely a lot of relation to the sun, as the windows to it are designed to be out towards the rising of the sun in the east, so every morning he'd be greeted by the sun. And I believe we didn't get a chance to see many of the other chambers that are next to it, but it's directly connected to the Hall of Mirrors, and so definitely a lot of relation to the beauty with the Hall of the Mirrors and the Chamber of the King. Okay, we have exited the Chateau of Versailles and now we're in the gardens. We're planning on going to, I believe there was mentioned, a sandwich shop to be able to kind of have a picnic on the grounds, which is going to be fun. But of course the main thing is going to be exploring the gardens and also visiting a little estate that was made for Marie Antoinette, following a little bit more of her story. So right now we are enjoying a cool, crisp day in the gardens, and I actually think it feels great. Okay, so we are done with lunch. Had a nice chicken and sweet pepper pizza and an apple strudel. And now we are headed to the little estate that was made in honor of Marie Antoinette, excuse me, and where she lived from time to time. So we're gonna walk there, and then we're gonna come back in time to hopefully see some of the fountains, do a special show, and then leave. Either we're gonna spend a little bit more time in the gardens, or we're gonna head straight back to the hotel. Either way, we had fun. So, Marie Antoinette, here we come. This is the Grand Trianon, which was designed to be the getaway from the getaway, with the first getaway being Versailles and getting away from the Louvre. This is a very old residence, so let's see the beauty that it has to behold. Okay, so after a quick visit to the Grand Trianon, we are at the Petit Trianon, and we're going to be going inside to get a quick view of it, and then we're going to the hamlet where Marie Antoinette escaped from the retreat of the retreat of the retreat of the retreat. I think that's enough retreats. So let's go inside and check this out.
Was Marie Antoinette's countryside. It's been rebuilt.
we are on our way to the hamlet of Marie Antoinette because when she got tired of the Petit Trianon, she built a little bit of a farm area out here that we are going to investigate now before we head back to Versailles. And is that what I think it is? Is that a white otter? I don't know what it is. I'm not very good with wildlife. Anyway, lots of wildlife around here. And we are walking towards Marie Antoinette's farmhouse. Okay, so this is the Domaine de Marie Antoinette, her little village. The entire village was just for her, but of course it housed many servants who worked the fields and the animals that she had brought in. So I believe we saw about 5 different houses that sum up the village, but all around it there's a pond, there's sleeping quarters, a lookout, and of course tons and tons of gardens for growing produce. And definitely back then this would have been very much a hassle to manage, but it's definitely kind of a little bit of a beautiful one since it's an escape from Versailles, so it's definitely a huge difference, but this is kind of what you like. I'm not surprised to why Marie Antoinette would have wanted to come here. Okay, this is, I think it's the Pond of Neptune, Greek god, technically Roman god of the seas, Greek would be Poseidon. Right now, actually, that's some of the estates and buildings around Versailles, not part of it, because Versailles was built quite a bit around after its time of becoming quite the building. But right now, I believe this may be the last thing we see before we get back on a train and head back to Miege on our hostel. But this is very cool to see because I have a very affinitive for Greek and any kind of mythology. So it's fun to see all the statues here. Okay, we are back on the train. So we are heading back. We're just retracing our steps, going back to Miege. I think pretty much tonight's gonna be recovering from my feet. Maybe exploring. I'm near our hostel, but had a really long day at Versailles. Definitely impressive and very, very. It was just an experience. So, we're headed back to Miege and into Paris. So, well versed in Versailles, I guess you could say. After the day in Versailles, got back to the hostel. Kind of went just back to sleep. Kind of just, after a lot of walking, my feet needed a little bit of a rest, and so far with planning other events, planning on fitting them in either tonight or possibly specifically just putting them on my free days, since there's 2 days to be able to explore what I want to of Paris. Anyway, our next adventures are taking us to follow the footsteps of the revolution. We are going to the Palais Royal, the Conciergerie, and the one of my possible most excited for, the Café Procope, which was apparently the first cafe opened in at least Europe. So for yesterday or for this video, I am now well versed in Versailles.